Hello. Welcome to part one, I suppose, of a series looking at all the Tier 10 US cruisers. Um, None of the US cruisers are really armored, so it's kind of an interesting peek into the state of cruiser gameplay in 2024. You could kind of argue that Puerto Rico has some armor, but the armor on the Puerto Rico is overall quite dog shit, really. If you look at it, it's just the fact that you can kind of play like a bot and go flat to people at close range and take no damage. But definitely wouldn't say it's like well armored. Definitely, compared to things like Petro, Napoli, these aren't armored cruisers, right? So we're gonna start with the Wooster, and right off of the gate, I have to admit that I am not really a Wooster fan. I do fairly well in it. I think I maybe have something like a low 60 solo win rate in it, but I just don't. And I think that's a testament. Sorry, I think that's a testament to how good the ship is. I mean, don't get me wrong. This is a very, very good ship still. I think, even in the present meta, and it's just that the playstyle is not one I'm like super into. Um, I like the heavier cruisers, and even the Austin more than this. Because I feel like if I start to get pushed, that I can do something about it. I think that's really what it comes down to. Um, and the Wooster can kite at longer range and spam against a push, but it doesn't hold up to say positional holding against pushing battleships, for example. Whereas, in your Des Moines, you're on an island. Yeah, the Montana coming around the corner might 30, 40K your bow, but you're really, really, really going to hurt him between those salvos. They've got like one chance to kill you, and then you take half their ship away. Worcester can't really do that. It's definitely like a safety farmer, I guess you would say. And that's not a playstyle I typically enjoy. I'm a big fan of ships like Colbert, Austin. Um, that's kind of how Minotaur. Those are the light cruisers that I prefer. Um, yeah, I like playing aggressive as long as I can. I'll kite and damage farm like the next person if I'm forced to, but I don't like to play that way. And it's just plenty of people enjoy this playstyle that you see here, where you're on an island and you farm damage. And there's I'm not looking down on it. There's nothing wrong with enjoying the playstyle of the Wooster. I just personally don't really care for it. Um, it also has that combination of uh, armor that never works, and by never working you live, if that makes sense. Every ship in the game, every battleship in the game overmatches you, right? You're covered in 25, but you do have a fairly low to the water citadel, and quite a troll citadel in the stern of the ship. The citadel kind of like disappears and goes into submarine territory under the back two turrets. Um, and this is like 25% of the normal citadel. See this salvo coming in, he dropped short, but if that had hit me, it would not citadel me. Which is very unique as far as I'm aware for cruisers. Um, Let me know if there's another cruiser that the Citadel just like doesn't exist under certain barbets. But yeah, the Wooster Citadel is like way underwater. You're basically never hitting it between the last two turrets. And this is kind of the play style um, for the most part as far as the damage goes. Um, you get damage while you can. You can opportunistically use the radar. The problem with the Wooster radar is not that it's bad, it's that it's on the Wooster hull. So, in a ship like Des Moines, and not only do you have a better radar, a longer range radar, but in a ship like Des Moines, you have a much more overall resilient hull. I mean, I know, you can get overmatched to the bow by 406s, but I mean, there's a lot of ships that don't like one-click Des Moines. I mean, you look at this lobby, Montana, Louisiana, and GK. Yeah, they're definitely capable of 10 to 30k bow hits on a Des Moines at close range, but they can't just overmatch the whole ship, right? Like they can with Wooster, and that does let you get a lot more aggressive in a ship like Des Moines, I think, than in a ship like Wooster. Um, and I mean, I still like to get aggressive in Wooster because that's just how I like to play. But I recognize that the ship is not really suited for that, in my opinion at least, compared to, Des Moines and Salem. And I think for that reason, I'm not a huge big fan of the Wooster. Mainly to me, the big selling point to the Wooster is um, fire starting and anti-air, right? It kind of, the DPM versus Des Moines is kind of an awkward comparison because yes, you do have theoretically more HE DPM, but it comes with 30 millimeter pen, and Des Moines pen's 32. So effective HEDPM, Des Moines versus Wooster, in my opinion, is fairly comparable. Des Moines APDPM is obviously way better because higher pen and better pen angles. But the problem is to get Wooster even close to Wooster's theoretical DPM, you gotta go about 35 degrees to people. You gotta show a good amount of side and get full penned. Whereas Des Moines, of course, you can go nose in and use 2/3 of your firepower, and you're fairly resilient, aside from the overmatching ships that just one-click you. But that's kind of an issue with all the U.S. cruisers. I mean, it's not really a fair knock against Des Moines specifically. It's just kind of the state of cruiser gameplay in 2024. But in this specific situation, there's not really much crossfire. And if I was in a Des Moines, I would already be in B pushing this Montana and this Marceau. Um, I mean, maybe you would do that in your Wooster, and you know, like I said, I'm not. It's not a ship I play a lot. Um, I don't know. I probably have less than 100 games in it, and I do fairly well. It's definitely a strong solo queue ship for sure because you have utility, you have hydro. Most importantly, though, you have the really good anti-air, and I do build for the anti-air for that reason. Usually, when I play Wooster, it's when I solo queue, and man, it is nice. It's undeniably nice to tell CVs basically to fuck off. You do shoot down quite a few planes. Uh, yeah, the ship is quite good. It's just simply not. I like my light cruisers to be open water and fast, and kind of trolly. Um, I like having to work for it. I just don't enjoy the rock camp and uh, and farm playstyle that much. Um, Now, with that said, and having said that Wooster's armor is, theoretically quite bad, 25 everywhere, exposed Citadel. But the Citadel does have some troll features, like I mentioned. With all of that said, uh, the Wooster is actually a very obnoxious ship at close range to fight in a battleship. And that really comes down to, as if you get kind of like this unicorn angling, and what I mean by that is if you go flat in the Wooster at close range, you definitely can take Citadel overpens, but it's not reliable. You can absolutely blow up. So you want to angle, right? But the thing is, in Wooster, you don't want to angle too much because you don't want to angle so much that your 25 side plating, factoring in the angle, it becomes thick enough to arm battleship AP, right? That, if you want to think of it that way. Um, so like if you're say 10 degrees to a battleship and he nicks you in the side plating, he's going to get a full pen because your effective armor thickness on, just for example, a 10-degree impact is about 3 times, 3 or 4 times, I believe, what the real plating is. So there's kind of like unicorn angles you can sit at where you don't want to be angled enough that you can get penned straight through the exposed citadel belt near the waterline, but you want to give some angle to kind of bait them, and you want to try to offer like this very small target that's kind of under the C turret, the third turret, the super firing turret in the bow. And that's kind of the idea. And I think in this video, in this replay, I'm gonna try to get this right, and I can't remember if it works or not. But yeah, we're 10 minutes into this game. This is like the first time I've used utility. Might have played a little too passive, but there just wasn't a lot going on. Also, um, if you're wondering why I'm running into this cap when my team is up so much on HP and points, it's a replay bug. We're actually down on those points. The points are reversed. The enemy team is 700 and we have 350. And we have no chance to take A back. So, and my battleships are, my Wisconsin's trying, but my other two are kind of in AFK positions, so I kind of ran in here to try to deal with the Montana before the Commodoro could get back in the game, and so right now I'm showing enough angle that I can take a Citadel. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to reverse an angle. You can see the Navigator mod just above my ship shows that I'm at now like a 20-degree angle when these shells are going to hit me. I'm trying to get somewhere around like a 20-25 degree angle so I can get overpen like that. Those were all overpens. Now, if I had been flat, he could have gotten a Citadel. And if I had been more nose in, I know this sounds ridiculous, but the game does factor in effective armor thickness on angle of impact. So if you angle too much, and I hate that this is even a fucking thing in this game, but it's a thing because we have overmatch. If you angle too much, you actually can um, increase the effective thickness of your plating, and then arm shells like 406s that Montana has. But this is what I mean. I think I mentioned a couple minutes ago that the ship can be extremely obnoxious to fight in a 1v1 if you're a battleship, and it's just because you kind of overpend it everywhere. It's really obnoxious. I think I showed too much. Yeah, I think you got a Citadel there. But you saw the damage we put into this Montana. I think he actually ends up dying here. It was something like close to 100,000 damage. I think we pumped into this guy in, what did he fire? 3 salvos at us, so about a minute. Yeah, Witherer, Arsonist. Um, yeah. Now I am not running IFHE in the Wooster. Okay, and I'll kind of explain my thought process of that. But we'll go ahead and yeah, there you go. Almost 100k to this Montana. I don't think I really did much to him before that. The radar, obviously, you do nuke destroyers if you get close to them. The problem again, though, is unlike Des Moines, you've got to kind of show all your turrets to really effectively put DDs down, and then that does obviously open you up to crossfires and torps more than something like a DM where you can kind of just like bot out nose into DDs and still kind of massacre them. But we'll jump into replay number 2, and I'll talk a little bit about the IFHE situation. All right, we're in the second replay now, and back to what I was talking about with the IFHE is it's quite a tempting build for the Wooster, and I do understand why people go with it because Wooster does have about 25 to 30% more theoretical HE DPM than the Des Moines, which is a significant improvement. Obviously, Des Moines' HE DPM is insane. And when you take IFHE, you do put the theoretical Wooster DPM on par with Des Moines' theoretical DPM, right? Because the lack of pen, the fact that you only pen 30, does not become a problem. The only reason why I don't like IFHE on Wooster is because, to me, its main value over Des Moines is anti-air and fire starting. And if you take IFHE, instead of having 50% better fire starting than Des Moines, you instantly plummet to something like 30-40% worse fire starting than Des Moines. You obviously nerf yourself against, let's see, any ship with more than 32 millimeter plating because you now don't start fires. So something like a Stalingrad here, where we pen superstructure, bow, and stern. We just cut our fire chance in half when we fight this guy. That last video was actually a good example of a situation where, sorry, the last replay was a good example of where IFHE would have come in handy because we're fighting very close range against a battleship that has a 32 millimeter bow with no icebreaker, right? So we can pick our shots and definitely get more pens into the bow. But why did I kill that Montana? Well, I killed him because I got a triple permafire on him like almost instantly after his DCP ran out, right? So this Atago, my guns are nerfed if I have IFHE. Um, you know, really the only ships where IFHE on Wooster is noticeably nice is the British, the French, and then some of the some ships like Yamato. You know, if you're getting upper belt pens and not deck pens, there's definitely situations where the IFHE does increase your damage output. Um, Over here, we're just getting into some sub and DD fun. And I'm actually going to switch to the sub because uh, this DD can't really do anything to my teammates. Um, so I'd rather get some good damage in on the sub while I can. Get him low enough that maybe we can finish him off with an airstrike. And I think that was a really good example of a situation where the Wooster is in fact straight up better than Des Moines because of the turret traverse time. Yeah, you have slightly better DPM with all your guns than Des Moines on a destroyer, but we get the sub kill as well. But really, it's the turret traverse time. You know, it would have taken me a solid 15-20 seconds to react and actually start getting shots into that destroyer. Is that long enough for him to live? Quite possibly. Or the sub to live? It's definitely possible. And then, as I'm done saying that was an example of Wooster being better than Des Moines, immediately we're going to see an example of where I think Wooster is inarguably worse than Des Moines. I would be in a Des Moines putting AP into this Atago. I would that salvo right there probably would have been 15 to 20k. And in addition, you see that this battleship player is just YOLOing it up to this rock. And if I was in a Des Moines, I would actually be pretty okay with that. I would nose up to the other side of this island into the cap. I would probably get cranked for maybe 15k, 20k by a salvo in my bow. And then I would kind of like immediately kill this guy with Des Moines AP DPM at this range because two-gun Des Moines AP DPM at close range against battleships, it's just like absolutely demonic. You just slaughter them. So I'm kind of forced to like cower on this rock, and I don't want to play like this. I don't want to do this. But if I come out, I'm either stuck shooting like 2 Wooster guns at him, which is a pathetic amount of damage output to put my ship in danger, or I bot out flat to him and try to AP his side, and then he's got a solid chance of just blowing me the fuck up. So yeah, Des Moines or Salem in this situation, yeah, they don't react to the destroyer and the sub as fast. They don't get their guns on target in time, but then they're also significantly better in a situation like this rather than having to reverse like a coward. Yeah, I would just push out and AP this guy's bow and take him down really fast in something like DM or Salem. So, pretty nice though that we can see the, you know, in my opinion, the clear strengths and weaknesses. The utility on Wooster can be very good, as you see, and then reacting to destroyers, you're obviously better against destroyers, just at gunning them than Des Moines or Salem are, assuming they're caught in your radar range, of course. But yeah, I just don't. I would like to play more aggressive, and I don't feel empowered to play as aggressively in a ship like Wooster as in Des Moines or Salem. And if I had made that play, I would keep pushing into the cap, because that's how I like to play Des Moines and Salem. I like to push kind of constantly. And this Stalingrad botting out flat, obviously, if we're in Des Moines or Salem, we just absolutely fucking annihilate him for doing this. But he can't overmatch us, so as long as he doesn't get us straight through the ass, you know, the armor is going to be fairly resilient. But of course, then I'm stuck shooting 2 turrets at him, with just like super tragic DPM. There you go. There's the fire chance. Fire chance is nice. Yeah, you're just not. I like to push in more, and the Wooster does not allow it as much. So now, as you can see, our team just kind of like evaporated. I don't really know what happened because it looked like we were even on boats, HP, and points, and okay even on cap, and then I think like 3 of our ships just blew up at A and 2 blew up at C, back to back to back. You You know, we've got a full HP Yamato AFK basically in spawn. Alende's alone on the other flank, and the kid doesn't want to spot, so we're kind of in an awkward situation. Um, the game is totally unwinnable. Um, and what I would like to be able to do in this situation is push into Stalin, Preuss, and Atago and take out one or two of them before dying. But it's not really an option in the Wooster, so we're gonna kind of have to just kite and damage farm here a little bit, and we'll also see that Wooster's quite good. Once you open up the range of engagement in Wooster open water to 13, 14, but definitely 15 kilometers, like closer to the max range, because we're running reload mods. We have like just under 17 km range. But once you open the range up in Wooster, it's definitely hard to deal with, because kiting away in the Wooster, your options as a battleship to really punish it are pretty damn limited. You're very likely to just get overpens as long as he doesn't show too much side. I mean, you could obviously get like a unicorn impact right under the rear turret, the super firing turret. But so like this range right here, 12 kilometers, this is a bit too close. This is kind of the range where we're a little easy to hit. The Preußen's not going to have a super hard time hitting us. But this game is almost completely over, and it's just time to farm damage. And I'm like a broken record, but I don't enjoy just closing out games like this. I don't mind as much when there's a blowout in my Des Moines or Salem, because I just get to push in with like absurd DPM and AP people and get a lot of damage before the game ends. Other than just like this cringe AFK kite farming after the game is lost. But you know, when in Rome, I don't know why I stopped here. That was like an incredibly fucking retarded thing that I just did, and I ate a Citadel. I'm too broadside. I don't really know what happened. I think my brain just like stopped working, and I stopped accelerating to obviously get behind the rock, totally safe for free. So I'm just gonna park here and try to 1v1 the Stalingrad here, and I mean, you see the boats that I'm fighting on this flank though. Like, we've got a Stalingrad where IFHE is terrible against. We've got an Atago where IFHE doesn't really matter. And a Preußen where IFHE doesn't really matter. And then by taking IFHE, I wouldn't be increasing my damage output against these ships. I don't even know what happened there. It looked like his shells went through my superstructure and just did no damage. Cool, pretty cool for this guy. But yeah, and I mean, there are situations where, you know, if you're getting pushed by a Bourgogne, a Thunderer, a Conqueror, like, yeah, then IFHE in those specific situations can be pretty good, obviously. But there you go, overpens. I mean, I don't have the health pool, right? Wooster doesn't have the health pool to just eat shit like that all day, but it's very troll. The armor is technically bad, but it is practically survivable, if that makes sense. I don't really know how to explain it. Like, I one shot blow up in Des Moines more than I do in Wooster, and I think I'm better in Salem and Des Moines. Like, I think I'm a better player in those than I am in Wooster. So it's not like I'm some Wooster genius who knows the ins and outs of the ship super well. I just think the armor is like super troll against battleship AP. Super troll. You just can't positionally hold in Wooster like you can in Des Moines because you don't have the platform and the damage output. Nose in. But when it comes to kiting, I mean, there you go. Overpen. I mean, the Citadel's low in the water. When this game ends, we'll look in the port, go over the build, and look at the armor. But Citadel's quite low. I mean, it's not waterline. Like, it is exposed. But you know, I mean, we're taking close to 2 million potential this game. It is fairly resilient. If I hadn't eaten that Citadel from Preußen like a complete idiot, probably would have killed the Stalingrad here and farmed a little bit more. But Yep, those were. I played 10 games. Um, I say today. You know, I'm doing these videos separately, but what I did is I played 2 games each in Wooster, DM, Salem, Austin, and Puerto Rico. Just back to back, two, 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 and we're just going through the game. So these were back to back games. I mean, obviously the damage was quite respectable. What was it, like 150 and then almost 200k? So something like 175k average for 2 games. You could argue that the loss is maybe more down to a non-existent team than the Wooster itself. But I just feel like you have fewer options in the Wooster. I think that's the best way to say it. Compared to DM or Salem, you you are pretty good at just AFK farming from a rock, just like DM Salem. I'd say it's kind of a tie. You might even be slightly better in the kite, but it's again close to a tie. But you just don't have that opportunity to push at people like you do in DM and Salem, and you don't have the opportunity to hold your ground. If you get pushed, by any battleship really that's somewhat healthy, you're on your rock and you just start getting pushed. It's like you can't just sit there and say, "Go ahead, shoot me," and then watch me take half your boat away like you can in DM and Salem. Um, and we can look at the detailed report. I mean, 60,000 with fires. Last game I also had Witherer, so again, like theoretically, if we're taking IFHE, you can basically cut the fires in half. And like in this game, most of our targets we just wouldn't have benefited. But you see the kind of farm we did on like Stalin and Preußen. Uh, I mean, it just burns. It burns things. It's very good at burning things, and it's very good at deterring CVs with the anti-air. We did kind of nuke a squadron off the rip, but other than that, the CV left us, which is also, an asset. If you wipe a CV squad, he is incentivized to leave you alone. He realized, oh, that's a AA Bill Wooster. Maybe don't hump that guy into the dirt from now on. But yep, those are the 2 games. We'll go back to the port and we'll look at the armor and the spec. All right, we are back in the port. And let's start with the equipment. Um, I think it's just obviously reload. I don't really know what you're hitting with the range Wooster. Concealment. You could be a mad lad and run double steering in open water. It's actually not as bad as you would think, but then of course you are kind of giving up your role as radar cruiser, utility cruiser. But it is an option. I've done that a few times, and it is kind of funny. It's kind of silly, goofy. Aiming, radar mod. It's like these are the only choices really that make sense. Haha, coal spotting aircraft. There you go. You found me out, YouTube. I am a radar using bot. Um, Going to the captain, my captain builds are kind of fucked. Like Halsey's good on Wooster, but because Halsey's improved skills are gun feeder, which kind of doesn't matter, and turret traverse, which kind of doesn't matter, you're really only using Halsey on Wooster to get Confederate, which you definitely can do, but I don't think it happens remotely as consistently as Des Moines. I think Des Moines, Salem get Confederate quite a lot more often, just in my experience. So if you have to pick, I'm not putting him on Wooster personally. If you got a gazillion Commander XP, I'm one of those idiots who like retrains 5 captains a day, so I never have Captain XP. But this is the build that I'm running. Um, we're kind of building full consumables to get them back faster. Those 2 games specifically were this was a total waste of 3 points, obviously. But I mean, Last Stand, radar duration, adrenaline rush, concealment are kind of like the basic build, and then you can kind of decide like where you want to go. Do you want to go AA or do you want to go IFHE? Personally, like I said, for those reasons, I don't take IFHE, so that's out of the question. Um, and man, I am I am a slut for this skill on utility cruisers. Like if a carrier decides to go for you, it sucks, right? Nobody likes getting dropped by a carrier. But you know what doesn't suck is getting your radar back in 1 minute, your hydro back in 1 minute, your DFAA back in like 30 seconds. It's extremely fucking nice. I have a 20-point captain on this because I had to like retrain someone to throw in the Wooster. But I would take incoming fire alert with my last skill. I don't think there's any value on Wooster. The guns turn so fast. Uh, I mean, they turn so fast. There's no reason for grease the gears on it. Um, yeah. You could drop the AA skills for, I don't know, survivability, I guess. I would definitely rather get a heal back in 30 seconds or 40 seconds rather than have like 4,000 extra HP. Um, and I'm not really like planning on eating shit in the Wooster, right? I'm trying to build into what, in my opinion, are the strength, which is fire starting, utility, and anti-air. And I mean, this is the build to build into those things. Now, if you want to build into open watering like a freak and run like IFHE, uh, you know, go for it. Uh, no concealment, double rudder, hell yeah, dude. Live your best fucking life. To me, there's no value in playing Wooster for that. I play Salem for that. I love me a Lighthouse build Salem, as we'll see when we get to reviewing Salem. But that's the build, and oh, we got to look at the armor real quick. I mean, everyone knows Wooster armor, but yeah, might as well. It's 25 everywhere, 30 deck. And then this is the Citadel, and this is what I was talking about. Like, it's I don't know of another ship where the Citadel does this. And if you do, by all means, let me know. But it's just like it's non-existent. Like you're just not hitting it, man. It's not fucking happening. And you can kind of do this weird cringe shit where you can like poke up from an island and show these three back turrets, and then they're aiming for here. They're gonna overpen on this giant stern, not Citadel here, and then they're gonna. I mean, yeah, they might roll the RNG luck god roll, right? But it's light cruiser armor. There's nothing special about it. You just take overpens. And what I was talking about with angling too much, if you're showing something like this, say maybe 10, 15 degrees of angle, um, shells that barely glance on this 25 belt. This 25 belt at this angle, you have to remember Wargaming does factor in angle of impact when it calculates the thickness of armor. So this 25 belt at a very steep angle is absolutely enough to arm. So anything with 380s or more overmatches it, right? So it doesn't have to check for a bounce, but it does have to check for an arming. And if you're flat, it's overpen. But you're showing your Citadel, right? And at very close range, you do sometimes take sit overpens. It does happen, but at long range, you definitely can blow up. So you don't want to. So you want to show like maybe 30 degrees. In my opinion, you want to bounce on the plating. You want to bounce shells that directly impact the Citadel, and then you're not angled enough. See, at maybe a 30-degree angle, 40 degrees for the bow, your effective armor plating is only like a 1.5x, right? Rather, when you're at say 10 degrees, it's something like I don't know, a 3x effective armor thickness because the shell is coming. I mean, you can. I'm sure I don't have to explain fucking trigonometry in a World of Warships video, but the effective thickness of the armor goes up the more you're angled, obviously. Um, so, so yeah, and then when you're bow in, I mean, you are hard to deal with because they're aiming at this spot. But if they just shoot side plating, they can definitely get full pens. Um, I think that's the thing a lot of people don't seem to factor in. They think if you go nose in, you just take over pens. And I mean, that is like true if you got shot straight through the nose and it didn't arm. But like, man, people do not factor in the effective armor thickness when they angle, and there's definitely ways where you can. I mean, it's the reason why Smolensk blows up more when it's slightly angled than it does flat, because it's too thin. Um, yeah, I mean, basic stuff, basic angles. Go back to school if you don't understand. But that is the Wooster, and we're gonna kind of go out of order because I think when I did these 10 games, I played like Wooster, then Salem, then Des Moines, then PR in Austin or something. But we're gonna do the tech trees first. We'll do Wooster, we'll do Des Moines in the next video. I'm gonna try to do these like maybe every day or every other day, because I'm kind of recording the commentary like in a way all at once or in two chunks. Um, so yeah, that is the Wooster. Very strong ship. I don't particularly enjoy the playstyle for the reasons stated in summary. I like being able to push in very aggressively, and I feel like while the Wooster can do that against, say, solo destroyers and some cruisers, it can't really do it a lot of the time against battleship players with hands. like Des Moines can, just because the damage output is a lot scarier. So, really good ship. Um, I have like a maybe a low 60, like barely above 60 solo win rate. I mean, it's very good solo, because you kind of can do it all, right? I just don't particularly enjoy the type of do it all playstyle the Wooster offers, and it's one of the least go-to of these 5 American cruisers. Strength wise, if I had to kind of put it, I'd say middle of the pack. I don't think it's just overall as good as Des Moines. It's probably has more potential to carry games than Salem with the utility if you do good utility usage. Um, but it is not necessarily my favorite ship. I usually don't even have a captain trained for it. Um, yeah. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I will see you in part 2 with the Des Moines.